we'll even do like the Champions League, and then we'll leave it at that. And we'll do the other ones
Yeah.
next time together. All right. Okay. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Footy Casuals. So today we have ourselves the UCL prediction groups, which we said we were going to bring to you, which is, I'd say, the best time out of the year. I'd say the group stages are really exciting. But yeah, but hello, Brian. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, and I'm very excited for the Champions League. Like you said, it is definitely the most exciting time of the year with football. And I mean, this is when things just start going crazy, and it even starts affecting the league. So it gets interesting everywhere. It gets interesting everywhere for sure.
Exactly. It's the best time of the year. The falls. Well, I don't know where everybody lives, but for us, it's the fall time. It's cold. It feels amazing outside. There's some good footy on the TV. Holidays are coming up. It's just the best time of the year. I don't know about you, Brian, but it's my favorite time of the year, and UCL ball makes it more exciting.
Nah, it definitely is my favorite time of the year too. And summer's always ending, which is something good. I'm not gonna lie, it gets very hot, especially
Yep,
nowadays. So I can't wait for it
exactly.
to be over.
Yeah, for those that don't know, me and Brian are on the West Coast, so it is very much very hot. Very, very hot.
Very, very.
Yes. So a nice cold weather is very much appreciated around here, so we're looking forward to that. But yeah, so we're gonna start it off with our predictions, like I said. So Brian's gonna start off on the first one, and then I'll start off on the
Yep.
second one. So, um, what we'll do is, Brian, how about this? I'll have you do all your groups, and then we'll do all of mine. How's that? So you go all through your groups, so groups A through H, and then I'll do my A through H.
Yeah, that's good.
We'll do it
That's good.
like that. Um,
All right.
we'll do it like that because I don't know, Brian. I want to see because I know you like to change things up. You want to be different, but we'll see what happens.
Nah, I'm not gonna lie. Today I didn't change up a lot. Like I don't know. I was just going very basic because I feel like with Champions League, there is always like one team, but it'll literally be like one team. I feel like, or there's always just like only like one shocker. It's not like crazy, crazy. Once like the actual round of 16 starts, that's when you'll see like shockers. But like I feel like when it comes to like the group stages, everything's kind of self-explanatory. Besides like one or two teams, but yeah,
Yeah,
I can go ahead and start.
yeah, no,
Oh,
you're
you
not,
guys good?
you're not wrong about that. I don't know. I feel like there's always a few shockers sometimes in the group stages. You'd be surprised, but I get what you mean. But yeah, Brian,
Yeah.
go ahead and take it away with
All
Group
right.
A.
So with Group A, I feel like this is obviously like a pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, for the first one, I had Bayern. I'm honestly not gonna lie, I have Bayern as one of my
Favorites.
favorites of everything, like in general, favorites. So obviously, I have them as my number one. It's pretty basic. Obviously, number two. I mean, based on how his team is playing, I don't even know how they're getting to, but these other teams just don't compare. So obviously, Man United is number two. There's just no way I can see them getting either grouped by Copenhagen or Galatasaray. Like, there's just no chance of that happening possible. So third, going into the Europa League, I do got Galatasaray. Copenhagen just doesn't squeak through. I mean, Galatasaray's team is getting pretty solid. They did get some good pickups this summer, so I know they're not producing as much right now in the league, but I feel like it'll turn around. And once it comes to the group stages right now, they'll get it figured out and they'll go to Europa League. I feel like that was one of the pretty basic groups, so I'm not gonna lie. Pretty easy start. Now, Group B, this is where I think it can get pretty interesting. Not obviously still like an easier group. We're still not towards like the groups of death yet. But for my first one, I got Arsenal. I don't think. Well, I think it can be. It can be. How would I say it? It can be seen as like different ways too. Like obviously, some people can have Sevilla number one. I put Arsenal number one based on their form currently and how they were their form last year because I feel like they're starting to pick up where they were last year. They did start off a little slow, but they're definitely starting to pick it back up. And it's so hard not to put Sevilla number one because Sevilla performs so good in these kind of tournaments, these European cups. So like I can easily see Sevilla number one, but for my table, I got Arsenal one, putting Sevilla two because they always perform in these competitions. Now with three, I I don't know. I feel like this was kind of one where like it could go either way. I had PSV going through. I just don't see Lens, and Lens is so like underperforming so bad right now in the league. I've last time we checked, I'm pretty sure they were like 17th, if
Yeah,
I'm not mistaken.
yeah, they were.
So yeah, they're definitely not doing what they're supposed to. So
But
for that
Sevilla is
reason,
too, you know. Sevilla's at the bottom of
no,
the
I
league too.
know, but you forget Sevilla is a
Oh, I didn't
European
forget.
goat.
Yeah.
Sevilla and Lens are two different breeds, man. Sevilla performs in these tournaments. I don't know what Lens is about to do in these tournaments. So for that reason, I got PSV three. I got Lens four. Then Group C, this is also where it gets not interesting. I don't want to. I don't want to say I'm gonna change it up because I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory who's number one. I'm gonna go with Madrid. A lot of people did buy the hype last year from Napoli. I mean, I feel like even I bought that. I kind of bought some stock in Napoli last year and how they were performing, but obviously they got a new coach, so I think that's gonna change.
They massively
And
underperformed, but yeah.
yes, yeah. So then, Real Madrid this year, obviously they're missing the striker that they needed, but they do have Jude performing at like such a high level, and if you think about it, they'll have Vinny by the time this starts. So not probably not by the first game, but like he'll definitely get a couple games in. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So I can easily, for that reason, see them winning the group. And then number two for my second place, I would get Napoli. Obviously, I mean these other teams obviously don't compare to Napoli, and I feel like Napoli they did do pretty well last year. So I, based on how I think that it's just gonna work, I feel like they did good last year. They'll do good this year, just not as good as they did last year. So then for my third, going into the Europa League, I don't know if this is. I'm not gonna lie. This is one that I actually kind of sat on and like thought about. I got Union Berlin. I mean,
Oh.
Braga is one of those teams where like they'll come up in big moments. So like I'm not gonna lie, that could be one of the shockers. I know I genuinely did like sit on this one. So, but I did put Union Berlin just because I know Braga always performs and like they're like one of those teams where it kind of like how would I put it?
All
They
I'm
just
gonna,
have a good reps in these kind of competitions, but they're not like one of these bigger clubs. You know if that
yeah,
makes sense?
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So I
I
don't know.
would
You're gonna say
say,
something
I
or
would say,
no?
I would say, um, they do have like a European pedigree. They're usually not in the Champions League, so
Yeah.
I believe this year is one of the first years in a while. I can't remember the last time. It's probably been recently, but it's not very common when you have three Portuguese teams in the Champions League because the first two are automatically in, and the third goes through playoffs. So this is the first time, and I think it's rare. I'm gonna say it's rare that you
Yeah.
see three. And Braga's usually in the Europa League, but this year they're in the Champions League. So but I
Yeah.
get what you're saying, that they have a European pedigree of some sort, that they do well
Yeah.
usually. Yeah.
Yeah, but so I guess you can state it as my first big change. I do got Union Berlin going through the Europa League, and then Braga to be my fourth. So now with Group D, shout out to AA9 Skills and the Benfiquista. And I'm not gonna change it up either. I got Benfica number one. Benfica is always performing whenever it comes to these tournaments. They literally like almost made it to the final last year, which is kind of crazy. But these Portuguese teams, man, you'd be surprised. Like a lot of the time, people underestimate these Portuguese teams, the Sportings, the Benficas, the Portos. So like don't be shocked whenever like they win the league or not win the league,
Make it far.
win the group. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised when they win the group and they end up competing because a lot of times we just kind of get overshadowed with the Prem hype, the La Liga hype, and we just forget about these teams. But they always end up performing pretty good. So I
Brian,
got them winning the. Huh?
I'll say don't forget that they topped the group last year with PSG and Juventus.
Yeah, and that's when everybody thought they weren't gonna do that.
Yes,
So
exactly. But go ahead.
and you can even argue that this group is way easier than last year. So that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
That's all. I'll leave it there just to not trigger any Inter fans in case we do have some in the chat. But number two for my second, for also like going through, and in second I got Inter. I think it's like I don't think it's another conversation. It's another one of these teams where they just always perform in these European competitions. And I mean, they made it to the semis last year, so I see them going pretty far this year again. I don't know if they'll get to the semis again, but they'll definitely go through and make to the group of 16. And then in third, oh, I feel like I wanted to put Salzburg. I wanted to put Salzburg in third just for the memes, but it's not RB Leipzig. It's
No,
RB
but it's not.
Salzburg, Austrian team, if I'm correct.
Yeah, they're Austrian.
So for that reason, I'm gonna put Sociedad. I'm not gonna be dumb. I feel like, hey man, they can shock me. I'm not gonna lie, they can shock me, but I feel like Sociedad's the easy pick there,
Yeah.
going to the Europa League, and then competition's a little harder over there in La Liga. Don't wanna throw it out there, but I'm just gonna put it out there. And I feel like these also the La Liga teams always perform pretty good in the European competitions. I feel like the different style of play definitely slows down the Prem hype at least. They definitely know how to play a little slower, and these other leagues that are like so used to playing at high pace, they just don't know how to react. So they always end up losing for that reason. Got Sociedad third, and then Salzburg fourth. Group E, and this is the group I struggled with the most. Surprisingly, like I'm not even gonna cap. I feel like this is just one of the ones where like anything can go through. Yes, I know. I feel like this is one of the ones where like anything can go through because Lazio always performs. Or Atletico Madrid performs sometimes. I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like you're either gonna get the good Atletico Madrid, or you're gonna get the ones that just like everything goes bad and then it's just a dumpster fire. So
yeah.
But in this scenario, I'm gonna go with the good Atleti, and I think Atleti will win the group. I do got Lazio in second. So Lazio always be performing in these competitions, so I got them second. With third, I want to just make a change. I can see Feyenoord going third, but I'm gonna go Celtic. And I'm gonna go Celtic just for the boys, because I forget who supports them, but so, whoever it is, like I can't remember at the top of my head, but I'll have them going through for that reason. Third Europa League, and then Feyenoord obviously getting grouped, but I can easily see Feyenoord going third. Not gonna lie, it's just one of the ones where like the Celtic and Feyenoord, it's either way for me, and I'll just throw Celtic out there just to be a little more exciting. Have somebody out there, you know.
Yeah.
Group F. This was definitely the hardest group.
Oh, it's a group of death. Of course.
Yeah, this is definitely the hardest group. It can go either way. I'll start off with who's getting grouped, and this may be a shocker. This may be a shocker, and the person I got being grouped is Newcastle. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. I got Newcastle getting grouped because of how they performed, how they're starting off this year. Like, I know they have had some hard games, I'm not going to lie. But based off the hype that they had last year, I feel like it's not going to transition to this year. And a lot of people are saying, oh, they're not performing this year, or they're not performing that good this year because they've had these hard teams. But I'm just like, once you get into the group stage, it's not going to change. All the teams in your group are hard. So I was like, if you're not picking up some wins right now, I find it very hard to happen in the grouping. So I got Newcastle getting grouped. Third, I got Dortmund. And I know this means PSG is going through, and they've been getting like rocked these last couple of years. But yes, I got Dortmund. I think Milan and PSG are just way better than Dortmund, and I feel like Dortmund took a step back from last year. I feel like last year was their year, and obviously like that didn't go through. So then this year, I feel like they lost a lot of pieces, especially Jude, which was like a big piece of their team. So I just feel them taking a step back. However, not too far of a step back, and that's why I put them in the Europa League. For second, I got PSG. And I got PSG in second for one reason and one reason only. Because Milan always performs. They always perform in these competitions. I know I keep saying it, but like
not always.
But they perform in the group stages, and they'll always make it far. So I always say what's it called? I know I'm saying like these teams perform, but like these are the teams that are kind of known for performing in these kind of competitions.
Yeah.
And like obviously, if you're like these teams are the good ones that are always be making it to the Champions League. So it's kind of known from these teams. But yeah, I think Milan's play is better. Not Milan's play is better, but like a lot of people don't know how to react to Milan's play. It's similar to like the La Liga play where it's a little slower. They're way more defensive. Their defense is better than PSG's, which is why I had PSG second. And then with PSG, they did get a bunch of new signings. And based like I know, me and Alfonso were talking about it earlier, like literally right before the podcast started. There was a game today where they lost 3-2.
3-1. Oh no, it was 3-2.
Yeah, no 3-2. 3-2.
Yeah, it was 3-2. I forgot.
They lost to
Nice.
What's the name? Yeah, they lost to Nice. And that does make me want to change my stance, but I'm not gonna change it for the sake of this. I'm not gonna let this affect my table that I already had. So I did have them second, and I feel like they do have Mbappe, so they'll go through, and they don't have the bunch of problems that they had last year with dealing with Messi, Neymar not getting along, and like these high expectations from everybody. So I feel like it's definitely gonna have less pressure, and I think Mbappe will definitely carry them through the group. And I think they're still meshing, and I'm not gonna lose faith in them yet. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of PSG, but I don't see Newcastle. Like, I'm not gonna buy the Prem hype on this table. I'm not gonna buy the Prem hype, and then I don't think Dortmund is better than PSG. So that's why I have them. And then Milan, I feel like they're just so good defensively. And like I feel like these defensive teams really, really perform well when it comes to the Champions League, and they always end up going far. So that's why I got Milan number one. All right, Group G. I feel like, and I'm gonna say this with like the straightest face possible.
Young boys.
They gave Man City. They gave Man City the easiest table possible. Like they literally gave these. Let's give everybody, or like, let's just give them the easiest walkthrough to the round of 16. Let's not even make it a competition. So if you don't know who I'm choosing first based off that, Man City is obviously going.
They're gonna get grouped.
They're not getting grouped. They can put out their C team, and they'll still go first in this table. So Man City, there's no chance. I don't even need to describe who they have, what they are. They're going through. I think it's pretty safe to say RB Leipzig, in my opinion, is also gonna go through. But I got them in second. I know you guys aren't so shocked with this table.
I'm very
But then
shocked.
in third, I'm not gonna lie, with third and fourth, I don't really know these teams. So for the sake of it, I just put Young Boys third because they got a cooler name. So Young Boys, I got
Young
third.
Boys.
And then fourth, I got
Cervina. It's Red Star Belgrade, but I think they changed it to like Cervina Zvezda. There you go. That's the word.
Yeah, Cervina Zvezda. Well, yeah, I got them fourth just because Young Boys, the name. I don't know any of the teams, so I may as well just go with the cooler name and the better badge. So it is what it is. And then Group H, I will say, I feel like this can go either way. I'm going to go with how I have it on my piece of paper. I have Barcelona going first. However, I'm saying this now. Do not be shocked if Porto goes first in their group. And I'll tell you why. Like I said, a lot of people will be underestimating these Portuguese teams, but these Portuguese teams always be coming out on top whenever it comes in their groups. So, like, I know a lot of you guys think it's just like, oh, Barcelona's so much bigger, Barcelona plays better. It is what it is. They play better, but when it comes to these groupings, Portuguese teams always perform. And yes, Barcelona will probably be more informed whenever it comes to the actual Champions League. I'm not saying they're not going to be, but I'm saying when it comes to these groupings, Portuguese teams always perform. So for that reason, in mine, I can see Porto going one, but I obviously had Barcelona going one. But don't be shocked. Obviously, that puts Porto at second for me. And then for third, Europa League, I got Shakhtar Donetsk.
You know, you said it right.
I want to say?
Yeah, Shakhtar Donetsk.
Yeah. And Antwerp getting grouped. Not sure about Antwerp, but I'm pretty sure they're not that good. And I do know who... Yeah, I was like, from what from what I was seeing, they did not look very good. And Shakhtar Donetsk is for that reason in third, in my opinion. However, now that I did give you my groups. I do want to say three teams that I think will perform heavy, if that's fine.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, the three teams I feel most confident. I got Bayern one, obviously Man City two, and call me crazy. I'm going Benfica three.
Oh, okay.
I feel like Benfica was pretty close last year, and they got a little taste of what could have been back to the old days. And I feel like they're definitely getting there. I like the Di Maria signing, giving a little
That was a
flashback.
great signing.
Yeah, giving that signing. So I definitely think they're going in the right direction, and I wouldn't be surprised if they make it pretty far this year. So, but yeah, Man City's obviously pretty self-explanatory. I mean, they won last year. They've got a crazier team this year. So I mean, it just only makes sense. I would have Real Madrid up here, but I'm gonna go based off the fact that they still don't have their striker, and I feel like once Champions League starts coming through, I feel like there's gonna be a lot to worry about, having a hefty workload. So we'll see how that goes. I feel like that's when they'll really start feeling it that they're missing that striker role. But Bayern adding that Harry Kane move, very sneaky, very good, and I think they'll definitely perform in the Champions League. But yeah, that's my groups.
Wow. Okay. Well, you got some interesting picks here, Brian. I was gonna say.
Which ones would you say were interesting?
Well, first of all, let me see. Where do I want to say? Well, I'd say the big one that I'm surprised with, I guess, is that you put Newcastle to get grouped.
I knew you were gonna say that. No, I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that.
That one caught me off guard. I mean, I understand your reasoning 100%, but when I pick mine, you'll see why I don't have them being grouped. Surprise, surprise! I don't have them being grouped.
Yeah. Nah, I figured.
Yeah,
that was right before I said that. I was gonna be like, yeah, I was like, this is gonna be the one and only shocking group. But yeah, it is.
Don't be surprised. I mean, I feel like people that are fans of outside the Prem will most likely have Newcastle being grouped, and I feel like most Prem watchers will be a little more biased when it comes to Newcastle, and they'll probably have them winning it all. But Newcastle, obviously, you see why like they're in the position to be here because of how their depth is compared to the other teams. But no, it's gonna be crazy though, for sure. It's very crazy, and I gotta say is this is a very exciting a bunch of groups, except the City one, which is trash.
Literally the worst group.
Exactly. I was like, almost all these groups are competitive in the sense like 3 teams are somewhat competitive, except that one.
Yeah,
that one's trash. I was like, but it's exciting. The last UCL group, the last one before it turns into one giant playoff. It's exciting.
No, and I feel like this has been one of the better groupings in a while now. Like I feel like the last couple of groupings have kind of been repetitive. Like we've seen the same couple teams like in the same kind of groups or like kind of the same matches. Like not same groups identically, but like you always have like two teams that like they usually play each other, and I'm just like, like we already know how this is gonna go. Or like that Man City group. Like a lot of times we have these groups where you just know who's going through, and then you just have like two big groups of death, and usually the groups of death have your favorite team. So it always goes that way, apparently.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong about
Definitely
that.
excited for these though.
No, yeah, for sure. It's gonna be some very good games. It's gonna be exciting. Like I can't wait. I'm excited. So the first games are on Tuesday. It's gonna be some very good games. But yeah, I was gonna say like just to give you a rundown, cause I don't know. What I would say is that the Champions League is very competitive, and you see a lot of small teams obviously get destroyed in previous years. But you'd be surprised sometimes some of these teams do be making some comebacks or some shockers like last year. Like let me give you this for example. Group B last year had Porto topping the group with Club Bruges in second. I think they're the first Belgian club to ever make it to the round of 16. I think it was and then Leverkusen in third, and Atletico Madrid got grouped, which is crazy because I'm pretty sure everybody had probably Atletico topping that group, and they got knocked out.
Yeah.
So Club Brugge were the shockers there that season, so you just never know. And then everybody, well, they weren't sure, but Barcelona got third. They dropped into the Europa League for the second year in a row there. And you saw Frankfurt beat out the teams like Sporting and Marseille to go through. What else is there? You see, like I said, Juventus in a group with Benfica, PSG. You would expect them to get knocked out, considering how big those teams are. But they won it. They won it comfortably. They didn't lose a single group stage game either. But yeah, that was last season, which is crazy. But we'll see what happens this season with this new one. But like at the end, we'll go over like the new format of this. But for now, I will give my picks and where I think everybody will end up and why. Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I know exactly like every single one of your picks. I feel like I already know.
See if you can predict it then.
I'll literally try to like write it down and I'll let you know as you're saying them.
Okay. All right. So I originally had Bayern first because Bayern is Bayern and they're looking better. They broke the curse they had against Borussia Mönchengladbach, which they could not beat them forever, and they finally did it. So I feel like they'll finally do good. So obviously they're getting to top the group. How could you not? I have Copenhagen to get group. Copenhagen is almost always in the Champions League, but they just don't really do much, I feel. So I just feel like they're always here for the ride. But so I feel like they'll get grouped. So obviously it comes down to second and third. So I originally had Manchester United in second to go through straight to knockouts, and you would expect that, right? But there's a lot of turmoil going on at the moment with the situation with United's start of form being very shaky, being very bad at the moment. I feel like if it wasn't for that Wolves game in which Wolves got robbed, United would be bottom of the table. Not bottom, but they'd be in the bottom half. Yeah. I feel like Wolves got robbed that game. Otherwise, they'd be much lower. So they have a lot of injury problems at center back to a point where they have Harry Maguire, who they do not want playing to play. Is going to be playing with almost 40-year-old, if not 40-year-old, what's his name? Johnny Evans, which nobody expected for him to come back to the club. So they're having defensive issues back there. And then all that Jadon Sancho stuff that's coming out, and everybody saying that Ronaldo was right all along, and Ten Hag this and Ten Hag that. There's a lot of pressure on the team to perform, and I don't know if they can do it. So, and to be a little different, to shake things up. Plus, like I said, there's been recent times in previous years where small clubs do big shockers. I still remember the season where Celtic was in the same group as Barcelona, and they put up a fight, and I think they upset them. They put up a good fight. I don't remember the outcome. I don't think Barcelona dropped down to the Europa League because I think recently that's become a thing. But I think Celtic put in a fight, so they ended up not topping the group that season. But I remember that season. It was a long time ago. I can't remember what year it was, but I remember that season particularly. So I'm gonna put Galatasaray in second and put United at third.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't even blame you there. I kind of forgot about the beef, but I feel like even with the stuff going on, I feel like Man United is too big of a club. But I wouldn't be shocked, like you said. You like I was literally about to say, I say that, but I was like you said, a bunch of these small teams, you shouldn't be shocked whenever they actually like end up performing and overperforming. And even if they overperform, they get through and they find a way to make it through. So I was like, you can't call it overperforming, but sometimes some teams just don't. They're just not in the form or not good. And Man United is just one of those where it's just a dumpster fire right now, and everything's going wrong. So definitely can see that one happening.
Exactly. That's a perfect word that you said. A perfect term, overperforming. So many teams overperform in the Champions League, and then they get knocked out like in the knockouts. But it's crazy to see them go on a crazy run or like go on this fairy tale run. But yeah, no, for sure. Galatasaray used to be a big giant. They've fallen off in recent years, sadly. I feel like Besiktas and Fenerbahce kind of took the lead for a moment. I don't know. I can't remember the last time Galatasaray was in the Champions League. I want to say it's been a couple seasons. I might be wrong, but I feel like it's usually been Besiktas or Fenerbahce usually up here. But yeah, and they got a lot of talent. They're going to take a while to gel because it's a bunch of new players, but I feel like
Yeah.
Like they could, cause a shocker in the Champions League and send United down with all their troubles and woes. And all I gotta say is they don't have Mr. CR7 to bail them out this time. That's all I gotta say. He's not here to carry them on their shoulders.
But now they got Mr. Point at your head.
Yep, Mr. Point at your head's gonna carry them through.
I can't stop laughing every time I think of Man United.
You just think of that Rashford celebration.
No, yeah, I think of this
But yeah, so I'm gonna put Manchester United at third. I know a lot of people are gonna put them in second, but they just dropped a lot of points in recent times and a lot of balls. AKA Onana, the wonderful goalkeeper they brought in to replace De Gea, is not looking like a good decision at the moment. But I don't know. So yeah, I'm gonna put them there, and their defense is also kind of shaky. They have some injuries in defense, and it's Manchester United, so I'm gonna put them in third. It'd be hilarious if they drop down to the Europa League, so I'm gonna put them third. But yeah. And then at second, I'm gonna put Galatasaray. So yeah, so most people might be surprised by that, but they just got a bunch of new signings, a lot of top tier talent. They're looking like they want to fight for the Turkish league, let alone the Champions League. Like I said, I feel like I haven't been in this competition in a while, and I'm sure they want to make an impact because they used to not cruise to the knockouts, but I feel like they used to always be in contention for the knockouts. So I feel like they'll do well, possibly. I feel like no offense to Copenhagen, I feel like it's an easy 3 points for all of them, and they just gotta hope for a good result against the other big ones, the other big teams, to go through.
Yeah, you're not gonna lie.
Yeah, but yeah, so I have them second, and then obviously whoever doesn't have Bayern in first place is either a United fan or they don't watch the sport at all. So they're either United fans or they don't watch the sport, because I guarantee you there's a lot of United fans that have United finishing in first, but that's not gonna happen. There's no way that you beat Bayern once, let alone twice. That's not gonna happen. It's Super Bayern for a reason. They got so much talent. It's ridiculous. They didn't get the depth that they wanted at deadline day. They missed out on a lot of signings, unfortunately, on their part.
Yeah.
I know they need a right back and a holding midfielder. Everything collapsed the last second. It just sucks. But they waited too long. They waited until the last second to get players in, and then it's never a good look when you're struggling, when you're like panicking on deadline day to get something through that you could have got done ages ago. But yeah.
Yeah, but they do keep upgrading their attack, so I mean that never hurts, I guess. That'll always just keep them up there, and that's why they'll just never be down there because their attack's always crazy.
Exactly, and they even have young talent. It seems like they're just pumping out young talent every now and then. Every couple years, there's a new guy emerging, and right now they have Tell. I think it's like Matthias Tell. I don't know how you say his first name, but that guy is 18 years old and he's looking insane. He's looking like the next crazy wonder kid at the age of 18. So. Look out for him. I feel like he'll contribute for sure. All right, but that's my 100%. Group A. But yeah, that's my Group A. For Group B, so for Group B, it's funny because I'm gonna leave it as is. So like I have it right here, pretty much the same way Brian did. If anything, I'm almost half a mind to swap Lens and PSV because I just feel like because even though PSV they did make it through the qualifying. Like I said, it's been a while that I can remember that there's been 2 Dutch clubs in the Champions League because the second place always has to go through qualifying, and they did do well to make it through qualifying stages. You always got to go through some big teams to make it to the qualifier, so I feel like they did well to make it, but I feel like they're kind of shaky in the moment. I know they're 3-0, I believe, in the Eredivisie, but the Eredivisie is Eredivisie, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But even then, if it wasn't for the fact that Lens had a rough start to the season, they lost a lot of their players. If not, I probably would have put Lens in third. So I'm going to leave it right here. So Lens fourth, PSV third. But don't be surprised if it's swapped. I'm just saying, don't be surprised.
Well, I'm pretty sure even I had mentioned too that I could obviously see that as a swap. I feel like that's just one of those ones where it's just going to be like either or. Yeah. And like there's justification for both of those teams. But I mean... Yeah, I just went PSV third, but I can easily see how you're going with that, and then see them fourth and Lens 3. So, yeah, it's just gonna be one of those.
Yeah, exactly. And even though I know everybody has Sevilla finishing third because of the Europa League joke about how they're gonna drop into third and win the Europa League like always and whatnot, but I believe this is the last year that they could do this because I believe moving forward they're not gonna drop into the next one. I believe that's how the format's looking, like that nobody's going to drop down into the next year because they're saying that there's no way for Sevilla to drop down to Europa League, so they might not be able to win it anymore afterwards going forward. But I just feel like even though I feel like they didn't reinforce themselves too crazy. But they do have Sergio Ramos back, and I love Sergio Ramos. He's a Real Madrid icon, one of the greatest Spanish defenders of all time, if not the greatest Spanish defender of all time. No offense to, no offense to Hierro, who's also a Real Madrid icon, but I just feel like he's very good, and having him back is gonna be great for them. He has a lot of Champions League experience, obviously, so I just feel like they'll do good. They're good in European competitions. And the other teams aren't as crazy as you would expect. If they had another big team a bigger team in this group, I would put them in third, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I'll put them in second. And then obviously, Arsenal in first. If you don't have Arsenal in first, you got to be a big hater. I know it's funny to see Arsenal struggle, and then everybody pretty much is all up in roar. It's funny, but I just don't see any way that they finish outside of the top two, let alone below first. They should get first easily. If they don't get first in this group, then it's sad on them, and it's not looking good for them looking towards the rest of the season. It is a Champions League, but in a group like this, that's one of the easier ones, they should get first. That's what I'm saying.
100%.
But I feel, go ahead, Brian.
Honestly, I wasn't gonna lie. I feel like if there is a team that like I could see through all these like underperforming, I don't know why, but then like something tells me that like I could see Arsenal underperforming. I don't know if it is being a Chelsea
It's an Arsenal thing, and you are a Chelsea fan.
Yeah, so I was just like, I don't know if that's a thing, but like if there's definitely one I can see dropping, it'll definitely be Arsenal. But who knows? We'll see.
Brian, you're gonna get slandered because you guys aren't in the chat. You guys aren't in any European competition.
I always still gotta talk. You always gotta talk.
There you go. There you go. We gotta have the banter ready on deck. But yeah. But that's Group B. So for Group C, I know you put Union Berlin in third and Braga in fourth. I'm gonna swap those because I feel like this is Union Berlin's first season in the Champions League. I just don't feel like they've recruited enough to compete for multiple competitions like this. And the Champions League is no joke at all. Like I say, you do see small teams surprising big teams every time. Like I remember that year where Sheriff beat Real Madrid, and I remember there's been a couple times in the last couple like years that I think Shakhtar beat Real Madrid once. I can't remember what year it was. It might have been last year when they still had Mudryk. I can't remember, but you just never know what happens. But Union, I just don't think Union Berlin are gonna be able to compete with the other guys. I know Braga is almost on par with their level and quality, but Braga have a really good squad. Well, not a good squad, but they have decent players for the division that they play in. They competed really well last season in the Portuguese league. And they always have a lot of experience in the European competitions.
They have a competitive squad.
There you go. That's a better word. So I feel like they'll be the ones to get there and drop down to the Europa League. I know they made it somewhat far last year. I think they made it to the quarters and they lost to Rangers. I'm pretty sure it was the quarters. So they might get this time around. But yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you, Brian. If it wasn't for the fact that we have Braga and Union in this group, I probably would drop Napoli to third. But I'm going to put them in second. I say this because I just feel like they've struggled a bit.
But like struggle a bit where they would drop out of top two if there was a better team. I feel like that's not an exaggeration, but like I don't know if they're dropped that.
Yeah, I mean they do got good players. They're still the same team. They did lose They lost Kim and Jae, which is a big loss for them,
Yeah, that was definitely a big loss.
But I feel like the bigger loss is their manager that they had, and he was a really solid coach. He guided them to their first win, and who knows how long it's been since they had won it previously. He stepped away at the end of the season. I'm sure he just wanted to win it, and he was happy with that. And he's like, you know what, that's that, and I'm good. But I'm not too convinced with the manager they have now. The results so far in the Serie A haven't been too promising. But like I said, for now, they stay in. They're lucky that they're not in a harder group, but I'm going to put them in second. For Real Madrid, I'm going to put them in first, of course, because the group is not as hard. They've won every game that they've played. One of the few teams that remain that is perfect I don't remember. I know there's a couple that are left that are perfect, that they've won every game. Undefeated is one thing, but they're
Yeah.
perfect. They've won every game so far. They've won every game in La Liga, so they're looking solid at the moment. I'm happy about it. I know they have some lack up top in the striker position, but as long as they get by in the group stages, that's all that matters. Maybe come the January transfer window, maybe Florentino Perez will see. We'll see the light and decide to buy a primary striker. We'll see what happens. But Jude Bellingham's been carrying crazy, but I don't know how long the Jude Bellingham magic will last for us. So I'm hoping it holds on and he's able to contribute massively. So we'll see what happens.
Well, they're already starting to link people to Madrid, aren't they? Like certain strikers. I'm pretty sure I saw one the other day that like somebody was getting linked. I forgot who it was, but it was a pretty big name.
I'm not sure. They're being linked to everybody. During the summer, they're like, I hear that teams were like offering their players, like everyone was offering their strikers that they wanted to get rid of, and they're like, nah. So they passed on. We'll see what happens, but we'll see how it goes. But for now, they're doing pretty good. Last season they started the same, so don't trust me. I don't have my hopes up that well. Last season they started off. I think they were top of La Liga. I forget how many games they went in a row where they were perfect, and then I think they lost or they drew to Osasuna. It was a very frustrating game. I remember I watched it. And then it just went downhill from there. And then in the end, they only won 2 out of 4 competitions, unfortunately. But it is what it is. You can't win them all.
I feel like that's how it always starts. It always just takes that one loss, and then it starts snowballing from there. But yeah,
you're not wrong.
We'll see.
Yeah.
They're definitely on a hot streak right now, though. So
yeah, for sure.
Vibes are still up for you.
Yeah, and they played some decent teams, so it's not like they played a bunch of bum teams. So I'm still looking forward to it. So we'll see what happens. But that's Group C. So for Group D, I have in fourth. I obviously have FC Salzburg. So, I mean, I'm sure that the Giants of Austria, and they qualify for this competition every single year because ever since they became sponsored by Red Bulls, no one can touch them at all whatsoever. Before you had your random Austrian teams that would qualify, but there's no way that's gonna happen ever again unless there's a way to the qualifiers. But that's probably not gonna happen if there even is a way for that. But I'm gonna put them in fourth. They're obviously stronger in their division, but in this league, I don't see it. Like, there's upsets all the time. They could drop. They could pick up some points against the big boys, but I just don't see it. So I feel like they're gonna be fourth. But
and in this group, I feel like it's an obvious fourth. Like, I mean, it's not one of those other ones where there's like a couple of slackish teams towards the end. Like, I mean. I think in mine I had Sociedad third, and I mean I don't think Sociedad is on the same level as Salzburg, so just a tough group that they got placed in if they wanted to perform.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
In my opinion, at least.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, maybe if they were in another group, they'd have a chance, but I don't know. But like I said, upsets happen all the time in this cup. You never know. Like I said, nobody predicted that Bruges was gonna make it to the round of 16, the first Belgian team to ever do it. Nobody thought that was gonna happen, so you just never know. Honestly, upsets happen all the time. That's what makes this competition so exciting. That's what.
And that's why we love the Champions League.
Exactly. That's the same thing that saw Barcelona drop into the Europa League 2 years in a row. We just never know. But okay. So for third, I'm going to put. So you put Benfica first, Brian, and Inter second, and third you put. What's it called? You put no, Sociedad. But I'm gonna put Benfica third.
Yeah, I had a bad feeling here. Right when you said that I had Benfica first, I was like 100% he's putting Benfica third.
Yeah, so Benfica's a crazy good team. They dominate the Portuguese league. They brought in Angel Di Maria is a very good reinforcement. I commend the guy that he turned down offers from Saudi to come back to Benfica. I love it. Benfica's kits every year are so nice, and Raul Jimenez used to play.
To be honest.
Yes, they are. Raul Jimenez used to play for Benfica, but I'm sorry, and but I'm gonna have to put them in third. They do have a good team. They do have good players. They have that European pedigree, but they're still cursed, Brian. I don't know if you know this, but they won, I believe, back to back the Champions League back in the 50s. And something happened with their manager, and their manager cursed them, and he said that they won't win the Champions League. I don't know if he said ever or for 100 years or however long, but so far, as of now, every final that Benfica has played, they have lost. So, I know we're talking about the group stage, But
Yeah, I was about to say,
I know we're talking about the group stage. I know we're talking about the group stage.
Group stage last year, so.
Yeah. I know we're
But,
talking about the group stage, but I just feel like they'll be third. And I'm not being biased because I do love my La Liga teams and I support my La Liga teams. But I feel like Sociedad is very strong. You know, I mean, they put up a fight against Real Madrid, you know, and that's a good testing point right there. So I just feel like Sociedad's not going anywhere. I feel like they're going to stay here. We'll see how they do with these multi-competitions. Let's see if they're able to compete in all of it because it's very taxing, especially when you don't have crazy squad depth, when you have a lot to play because they have La Liga, the Copa del Rey, and then obviously the Champions League. And it gets hectic, you know. You're playing Tuesday, Wednesday, and then, you know, Saturday, Sunday, something like that. So it gets crazy. But I feel like you know, they'll do well. You know, Takefusa Kubo is very solid. They have good players. I feel like they'll get second. I would almost put them in first, but Inter's just very good at the moment, and they destroyed AC Milan. You know, they destroyed AC Milan over the weekend. So I feel like I'm gonna put them in first for that. I feel like that beatdown against Milan is more of a sign of their dominance versus AC Milan's, you know, like downfall. I want to say.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. So I'm gonna put them in first, and then obviously Sociedad in second. So that's what I'm gonna go with, like that.
I respect it.
Yeah. So no offense to Benfica and any Benfica fans. It could go any way. You never know. Somebody might slip up and they may make the top two, or who knows what happens. But hey, man, hopefully maybe go on and win the Europa League and break the curse. But probably not gonna happen.
No, yeah. And then how I seen it, I was kind of just being a little bit more, not like
conservative, kind of.
Yeah, I was being a little more conservative. That's the word. I was being a little more conservative. Always going for like not the big teams, but just like. I feel like what would be your obvious choice if this wasn't the Champions League, right? Like if it was just a casual game, like who I thought would win. But obviously there's going to be some upsets, so definitely makes sense. I can definitely see it happening. That's one of those groups where it's just like, you never know. The Sociedad and Benfica difference isn't that big, to be honest. So can definitely see that happening.
Exactly, and Benfica's pretty much in here every season. I don't know, but you're saying, Brian?
Yeah. I was like, and Inter's going to be Inter, so.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're going to be up there, so.
Exactly. No, I was saying, Benfica are in this competition every year, and Sociedad hasn't been in it in, I think, 10 years. I might be wrong, but they haven't been in this competition in a long time, so you never know, honestly. You honestly never know how that goes. Benfica have that experience, that yearly experience, where they're always pretty much guaranteed a spot here, and Sociedad haven't been here in a while, so we'll see what happens, but.
There's definitely going to be a hunger for Sociedad. So.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I agree with that. And then I'm sure Inter have that hunger after being let down in the final where they choked that final against Man City, that they had all the opportunities and chances to win, which they pretty much just threw away. But this year they don't have La Caca, so they have a good chance, you know. They have a good chance this year.
They still have Lautaro.
But they now have Arnautovic, who's a solid Serie A baller, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and he's been performing.
Yes, that he has. He's very much made it in the Serie A comfortably for the last couple of years. But yeah. So that is my Group D. So moving on to Group E, I have... So here you had Atletico, Lazio, Celtic, and Feyenoord. So for fourth, in my opinion, I have Celtic. So... Yeah. I'm sorry, Celtic fans. I know you're a big club. I'm sure you'll do better than Rangers did last year, where I think they ended with 0 points, which is pretty embarrassing. But I don't know. I just don't think you have what it takes to compete. Welcome back. It's been a while. I mean, Celtic are a great club. Nice crest, kit. Everything's great. They sing the same. They have the same anthem as Liverpool, the "You'll Never Walk Alone." I don't know what the significance is there, but. I just don't think you'll make it far. So I think fourth, you guys will be going home right away. But yeah, so this is the one where you'll be surprised, Brian. I'm sure you're going to know which way I'm going to go here. So
I do think I know where you're going to go.
So for third, I'm going to put Lazio. So
wow, the disrespect.
They did lose Milinkovic-Savic, and Millie Savage was a solid player for them in the midfield. But just get an idea, last season in the Europa League, they also had Feyenoord in their Europa League group, by the way. So Lazio drew all 4 games. They couldn't get a single win in that group. And I believe No, not everyone, obviously, because I think Feyenoord beat them, but Feyenoord
Yeah.
beat them in their group stage last season with their full strength squad before they lost their players to Saudi and all the other clubs they went to. Feyenoord beat them then last season when they went on to become the Dutch champions that they haven't done in a while. If they did it then,
Yeah.
I feel like they can do it now. And they lost, like I said, Milinkovic Savic, who was like the heart and soul of their team. So I'm gonna put them third. And plus, obviously, Feyenoord. Like I said, Santi Jimenez plays here. He's one of my favorite Mexican players at the moment. Since the rest of them, I'm pretty much disappointed. He's the only one that is not let me down. He's a great player for his club, not so much national team. He gets very nervous at the national level. Very nervous, but when it comes to club ball, he just balls out. He was at one point last season in the Europa League. He was on top of the goal scoring table for the Europa League last season, and I feel like he'll do well. The only downfall is that he's suspended, I believe, for 2 or 3 games because his quarterfinal game against Roma last year, he got a red card in the dying minutes, and it sucks because they were so close to going through. I think they conceded to draw in the final minutes. Otherwise, it would have went through, which kind of sucks, and that's what got him that red card. So he's out, and he's obviously their big striker. But they've been balling out in the Dutch league. 3 games where they've destroyed their opponents 5-1, 6-1. So they are balling at the moment. They started a little slow. They got 2 draws to start off, which kind of sucks because you can't drop points, especially with you got PSV, Ajax, and like AZ Alkmaar that are pretty solid. So I feel it sucks that they drop points really early on. But my point is, I feel like they'll do well even without Santi for the first couple games, and I just have faith in these guys. I feel like they'll do well. Yeah. I mean, they did it last season. They beat Lazio last season, so I feel like they can do it again. And then obviously I have Atleti first. Last season they were very disappointing. They got grouped last season. They ended 4th. They went nowhere. It was very disappointing. But I don't know, Brian. I told you when we did our La Liga predictions that Atleti are very shaky, and I was right. How do you go from beating Rayo Vallecano, I think 6 or 7-0, right? Or was it 6 or 7-1? I can't remember. But
I think it was 7-1.
Okay. How do you go from that to losing 3-0 to Valencia? So Valencia last year almost got relegated. They were close to the bottom most of the year. They were struggling, and I felt like they were going to be close to the bottom again. But they beat them 3-0, which is huge.
Oh, no, 7-0.
7-0. Yeah, I thought they kept a clean sheet. Okay, 7-0. But the fact that they lost to Valencia is not good news for them early on. I just don't know how they're going to come back from that. But luckily for them, I keep saying this, all these big teams that are struggling got lucked out with their draws. Except for one team, which I'm going to talk about in the next one. So, so I have them first, obviously. I feel like they'll be Feyenoord, I'm sure. They have so much depth, and their defense is insane. So, I feel like they'll be able to win the group out and go through, unlike last year.
Yeah, but I'm not going to lie. Not calling this group lackluster, but I mean, of all groups, I feel like this is the
behind obviously Group G.
Yeah, this is the basically like one of the easiest groups here. So then I feel like with this one, there's actually probably like room for some movement. I feel like if we get a shocker, it's gonna come from this group. I'm not gonna lie to you.
You're not wrong, honestly. Anything could happen. We never know. What if Celtic end up winning in the top 2? I don't think so, but you never know.
Yep.
Yeah, because I hear that atmosphere at Celtic Park is insane, and you can imagine that, like, the atmosphere at home for most of these clubs are going to be the difference maker for sure.
If so, you best believe I'll be behind the Celtic boys.
Yep. Behind them for sure. I mean, I love an underdog. I'm not against Celtic. They just happen to be in this group, you know. They could have had an easier group or an easier draw. I mean, I say that, but there's a chance for an upset, so they do have potential, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, so Group F. This is the group of death, and like I said, a great way to end off the group stages for these competitions with the crazy group of death. Any of these clubs could have made it through in any other group if they were placed, but this is how it went. So, for 4th, I'm gonna put Dortmund. I know you put them in 3rd, and you put Newcastle in 4th, But Dortmund started off really bad in the league. They dropped points against the recently promoted Heidenheim, which is not very good. And then also, I forget what other club. There was another club that dropped points to that they had no business dropping points to. I think it was like Stuttgart. I can't remember what club it was, but they dropped points to two lower league or lower sides, two lower table sides, and that's not very good to start off because you already know Super Bayern is in full effect, and they got to take as many points as they can if they want to compete, truly compete. And I had a feeling too that they were going to struggle, especially with their loss of players. You know, they lost Jude, which is a big player. You know, and I knew they were going to struggle in the Bundesliga, and I can see they have struggled in the Bundesliga, and for this reason, I'm going to put them in fourth in the group. You know. But yeah, I have them there, and then third. So I'm gonna surprise you, Brian. Just saying. And,
I think I know where this is going.
I'm gonna put Milan in third.
Yeah, I felt that.
Yeah, no offense to Milan fans. Just saying, no offense. But Milan is blue. Just saying. But I don't know. After that beatdown against Inter, you just never know. But I just felt, compared to PSG and Newcastle, I feel like they would end in third. Nothing to do with the players they have or who they have on their squad, but I feel like they've gotten some good results early on. But that last game against Inter looked very, very dodgy. To lose that big against your arch rivals is just never a good thing. But I just don't think they can do it.
This is one that I can definitely not see the logic behind. I just find it so hard to see them third. I mean, hey, you never know. I might get shocked. But this is just one where I just feel like it's the obvious one or two. I mean, I put them one, but I can obviously see them being like at least two. There's no way they drop to three. There's no way.
I just have faith in Newcastle. Their squad is very decent. They don't have a lot of depth. They had a rough start to the Premier League. Like I said, every club has struggled and they've gotten lucked out by easy groups, but this one is not easy at all. So this one would be the opposite. So your prediction of them in fourth would actually be accurate in the sense of that they started rough in the league, and so most likely they might start rough in the Champions League. But I just feel like Newcastle, I feel like they can do it. You know, I remember when Leicester won the Prem in the next year, they made it to the quarters against and they lost that against Atleti, and I thought that was exciting. You know, that was their debut. I know Newcastle have been here, but it's been a long time. But I don't know. There's just something about Newcastle. They're a great squad. They have good players. You know, I just imagine that. I don't know, like Sandro Tonali, I feel like he might have a chip on his shoulder. He might want to show Milan what they missed out on by letting him go. Sometimes, you know, it's not a bad decision to let your big player go. Like, look at West Ham. They let Declan Rice walk, and the players they brought in have, like, more than enough helped to propel them to the top of the table, which is crazy because you would never expect them to be in the top parts of the table, but especially after losing Declan Rice, but that happened. So I feel like with AC Milan losing Tonali, he might be the motivation for him to help and show them what they missed out on and what they could have been. Just saying.
Yeah, and it is the group of death at the end of the day. So I mean, I can definitely back that, I suppose. But I don't know. I just find it hard. But it's a group of death for a reason. All these teams are good, so that's just gonna be one of the ones we're just gonna have to watch every single game, and it's gonna be interesting throughout the whole grouping.
I'm excited for that for sure. I can't wait. So I can't wait for PSG versus Newcastle because technically it is
I was literally about to say the same thing. I was like, I cannot wait for PSG versus Newcastle. It's gonna be funny.
Technically, it is two oil clubs, so it's gonna be interesting. Technically, even though you can't tell with Newcastle because they've done it, you know, the correct way. You know, obviously, you don't like seeing the way PSG and City muscled their way into relevancy, but I love the way Newcastle are doing it, so that's why I'm always a big supporter of them and what they do. You know, I always hope they do well, even though obviously they're not my team. It's exciting to see a team come up. You know, all the signings that they made weren't crazy. I feel like anybody could have made the signings that they made. It's not like they went out and they bought like Mbappe or like Ronaldo
They're not
or
buying
Messi.
superstars. They're just
Yes.
buying people and creating superstars. That's
Exactly. They're buying young players with potential and helping them mold into like superstars, which they've done with Bruno Guimaraes, who's done very solid so far. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna say there. And they brought some more. They brought some more young gems to this past windows. I feel like they'll do okay. I'm gonna put them in second, but anybody could finish. Anybody could end in any position in this group because it is the group of death, and all four of these teams are very solid teams. So you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
What if PSG and Newcastle get knocked out, and you see Milan and Borussia Dortmund go through? That'd be crazy. But imagine.
That would be kind of crazy. Not gonna lie.
Yes, it would be very crazy. But yeah, so I'm gonna put PSG first. As much as I would love to drop them down to second, that's not gonna happen. And I say this because I just feel like their form has been kind of shaky. So honestly, as I go on with my prediction, I start to feel like yours is pretty safe. Your prediction, so Milan first, PSG second. Dortmund. Well, I still say Dortmund fourth, and then Newcastle.
See, I knew at the end of the day you were gonna have a spot in your heart for PSG at first, so that's why I left them for you. But that's why I did.
I do not have a single piece. I don't have any room for PSG in my heart. Trust me. They are the hatred. They're the hatred that lies within. Trust me. I love seeing their downfall at the moment, knowing that they're not top of their league and that they struggled against what you would expect to be easy opponents makes me so happy. Yeah, they're just lucky they went up against Lyon and Lens so early on, because I guarantee you Lyon will get their shit together sooner than later. But they got lucky that they faced these guys early. If not, I kid you not, they'd be mid-table. That's what I would say. So we'll see. Mbappe keeps having to bail them out, and considering that Mbappe is supposed to be the main piece to an overall huge squad, that's not a good sign. He shouldn't be the one bailing you out. He should be helping propel them forward, not carrying them in these games. Considering all the money they spent. But I just feel like they'll get first, even though they've been struggling in the league. It's the Champions League, and who knows? It may surprise me. All I gotta say is if PSG drop down to the Europa League, it would be the most hilarious thing of all. I think them dropping down to the Europa League would be better than them getting knocked out straight, because they'd have to play in the Europa League, and it'd be hilarious.
Yeah, and I feel like there's no way 3 bad years in a row, right? I feel like at some point it has to turn around. Yeah, at least you'd think.
It's not gonna happen this year. Honestly, I saw it last year. I thought they had a chance at winning it last year, and they fumbled it. I just don't think this year with the transition period that they're gonna win it. So that's why I said don't be surprised if they drop out. But it would be hilarious. I can't see it happening. Yeah. I don't think what's called I was gonna say Saudis, but they're not Saudis. The Qataris. I don't think they'd let that happen. I don't think they would let it happen. 100%. I think they would lose their shit if that happened. But it'd be hilarious.
They'll just buy out everybody in this stuff. There ain't no chance.
Oh, of course, but it'd be hilarious for sure. But yeah, so I have PSG there, and that's my group F. Like I said, some people might not like it. I know yours is drastic, and you saw every point I made against all the other ones, but this is the one where you're putting your foot down, where you disagree massively.
Yeah, no, that's the one where I just cannot. I don't know, it's just too crazy in my head, but. That is just me being conservative, but it is the Champions League, so we will see.
That's fine. For once, you're being conservative, and I'm not being conservative, and that's okay.
I know, it's funny. Of course, it's when it's the Champions League,
right?
Too.
It's the Champions League, man. It's like the FA Cup. Crazy shit happens.
Yeah.
Crazy shit happens. But yeah, so that's my Group F there. Group G. This is the easiest group, man. Easy. I'm not even going to spend that much time here. All right. So I know you put Young Boys in third because they have a funnier name, and you put Red Star in fourth, so Cervina Zvezda. But I'm putting Cervina Zvezda in third for the fact that they're I don't know, I think they've been up here before. They usually are in the Europa League and whatnot, but they compete. They compete. They make it to the knockouts sometimes in the Europa League. So I feel like they got more of a pedigree than Young Boys do. So I just feel like Cervina again, not top. They're gonna get in third here, and then that's just what I have to say about that. No disrespect to either of those clubs, but that's just how I see it. And obviously in second we have Leipzig. It's gonna be the battle for first and second, but Leipzig have been done well considering they lost a lot of players. You know,
There will be no battle for first and second. Just letting you.
you never know. Hey, Leipzig have done well.
Battle.
I gotta say, Leipzig have done well considering all the players that they've lost. You know, they've been
I don't
solid.
care how well they have done. There will not be no battle.
You gotta be a little optimistic.
There will be no battle.
You gotta be a little optimistic. You never know. What if City drop points to Young Boys?
Pep is not gonna let that happen. I don't care.
Oh
I don't care what happens. There could be like a freaking lightning striking hitting Haaland right in the dome, but that is not happening. They will not drop points.
No, I mean Julian Alvarez has stepped up massively this season. So honestly, even if Haaland doesn't perform, Julian Alvarez is there to clutch up. But I don't know. All I gotta say is that Leipzig are a good club. And they've put up fights in previous years. They lost players, but they brought in good players. You know, like Xavi Simons is balling like crazy. If anything, PSG should have kept him. But he's on loan at the moment. Definitely. And they're doing really well, even without losing, you know, like they lost Vardiol and then Kunku. And they lost a lot of, I forget who else they lost. I know and Szoboszlai, they lost him too. They always lose players. It's crazy. They stay competing.
Yeah.
Even though they lose players. But yeah, and then obviously City's in first because City is City and nobody likes City unless you're a bandwagon fan, a young fan, or you're from Manchester, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't want to take anything from RB Leipzig. I feel bad now. I don't want to make it seem
you're
like
shitting on RB Leipzig, man.
I know who they are. I know what they bring to the table, but I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Brian's just terrified of City. That's why he's terrified of City.
No, I just know who they are and what they bring to the table.
Brian,
that's all.
Are you sure that they are them? Are you sure that they are him?
They're becoming him, and they will probably solidify his Champions League.
Oh no, man! I will give them their respect if they win it back to back, because the last thing that did it is obviously Real Madrid, and no one had done it since before. When it was still called the European Cup. Well, no one's done it since it's been called the UEFA Champions League other than Real Madrid, so we'll see what happens. If they win it back to back, I'll give them their props, even though I don't like them, and I hope that they don't. But yeah, so City is first there, sadly. So, and then here we go on to Group H. So I'm honestly going to keep it the same way you did, Brian. You know, I'm going to put, obviously, same way. So fourth, obviously, we have Royal Antwerp. Third, we have Shakhtar Donetsk. Second, we have FC Porto. And then first, we have Barcelona. So, first of all, I do not like, what is the club? I do not like Royal Antwerp because they stole a place of the Champions League from AEK Athens, and they stole my dream of seeing two more Mexicans play in the Champions League. So now so instead of them playing in this Group H, they're playing in the Group of Death in the Europa League. So thank you, Antwerp. I hope you win. I hope you win 0 games. I hope you can take nothing. You know, I know that they get. That's gonna be toxic. So in the Champions League, they get money for draws and wins, and I hope they get 0 wins. I'm sorry, Antwerp fans. I'm gonna be a hater because I'm upset and salty that they knocked out AEK Athens. They did all that just to make it to the Champions League and win 0 games. I guarantee you, they'll get slapped up by Dortmund, Shakhtar Donetsk. Just them alone, let alone what Porto and Barcelona are gonna do to them. Just watch. You'll see.
Yeah.
Just saying.
No, definitely.
And third, we got Shakhtar. Yeah, you can't even. I
feel like that's one that you can't even justify. Like I was just like, you know what? Like just because you're talking smack about it, I was like, I'm gonna move up to third, but no chance.
No, there's no way. There's no way. They got washed up Alderweireld, and then I don't even know who else they got. I think they had before Nainggolan, but I think he's playing for a second division team now. I think it's Spal, but I don't even know. But I don't know. They're getting fourth. And then third, I got Shakhtar. Shakhtar is obviously a casual regular in this league. So they do have some interesting performances. They've had some upsets. You know, they used to be that team that used to produce every Brazilian. So every Brazilian came through this club, but they haven't been as of late. But yeah, I feel like they'll get third here. I don't see them passing up Porto and Barcelona because they are them, and that's gonna happen. So we never know, but it's not gonna happen. They did put up a fight against Madrid last year, but it's just not gonna happen. They're gonna get third. and drop down to the Europa League. But we'll see. And then second, I'm not gonna be biased. I'm gonna put Porto in second. Porto is Porto. They got good players. They recently just signed a Mexican on loan. He's a right back. So that's exciting. Porto's solid squad. They're always competing in the Portuguese league, but I just don't think they can topple Barcelona. And now, speaking of Portuguese teams, let's bring up some Portuguese players. So they signed up João Felix and João Cancelo. And so those are two pieces that they desperately needed. I guarantee you that they're going to ball out. So they did very well over the
100%.
week. Yeah, they did very good over the weekend with these guys. And it looked like the missing pieces that they for sure needed. So I just... It's worrying as a Real Madrid fan, I can't lie, seeing that they have a lot of new rejuvenation of attack. João Felix just mold perfectly in that squad, and I'm sure Brian, I don't know, you tell me as a Chelsea fan, do you regret not keeping João Felix at the moment?
I do regret it, but to be honest, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like we weren't doing him any justice. So I mean, let him ball out somewhere else. Because if anything, I feel like we're just delaying his progression, and he could be such a great player elsewhere, based on Chelsea's like current form. So I feel like at the moment he wasn't a fit because nobody's a fit at Chelsea at the moment. It seems like. But I definitely wish they would have kept him, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, honestly, your guys' midfield is just too like stacked with players. So is your attack. So maybe it is better that way. But yeah, and then João Cancelo was trouble for City and Bayern to a point where they did not want him at all. All right, it's a loan, but I'm pretty sure it has a buy clause, so we'll see what happens. João Cancelo, not João Cancelo. I mean, they're both Joaos. The Joaos. João Felix. I'm pretty sure his is just straight loan, so there's no purchase, which is crazy because Atletico's making a crazy ton of money off just loans. I think they charged. I think they charged you guys 10 mil last season. And I think they also charged Barcelona like 10 mil. So they're making bank, and they get to like recoup his rights too. And I'm just telling you right now, so it's looking like João Felix is like the first player that has gone from Atleti to Barcelona that's actually panned out, because they had Griezmann that didn't pan out. He went back. They got him for peanuts after they sold him for a ton. I don't know if you remember from back in the day, they sold him Arda Turan, who flopped massively. Yeah. And then
I remember.
Then he went from somewhere else. I don't know. He got himself into some trouble, and he ended up somewhere else. So that's that. I forget who else they had, but there's just a streak of where they send players to Barcelona, they don't pan out, and then they buy them for peanuts, and they come back and they perform well. So I think João Felix is gonna break that streak. He's just looking like he fits really well in that squad. They're gonna shell out some big money. I guarantee you right now. Atleti have sold them players for tons of money in the past, and it's not gonna stop anytime soon. You know, so. If they want him, they gotta fork over some big cash. That's all I gotta say. At least 100 mil, I'd say. And they don't got that kind of money, so they better hope they enjoy their 1-year rental on João Felix.
Yeah.
Unless they want to sell more assets, you know.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like out of João and Cancelo, I feel like Cancelo will do better, just because like I feel like he's gonna be like on a revenge tour, like to prove himself, to prove that he's still João. And I feel like with Barcelona, I feel like they'll kind of give him free reign into the attack, and I feel like whenever he's always in the attacks, whenever he performs, like you just gotta let him free roam up in the attack, and that's just whenever he's at his best. So honestly, I see like a revenge tour coming from João Cancelo.
Yeah,
I would be scared if I was in La Liga right now. I'm not even gonna lie. Or two, like in the Champions League, because I'm pretty sure, like almost 100%. I don't want to say 100% exactly because crazy things can happen, but pretty sure they're going to qualify in the Champions League. And once they get there, I feel like they're going to be one of those scary teams where you're just going to be fearing because of how deep their team is and just like how talented it's getting.
Yep, not wrong. You're pretty much dead on about that. So it looked like they got their missing pieces that they desperately needed. But we'll see. We'll see if João Cancelo can stay out of trouble. Because I know he has
always that aspect.
Exactly. It seems like he has outgrown his boots, I guess. He has become too big for his own boots, I guess. I don't know if what the saying is, but I don't know who he thinks he is, like no offense, but he's a great player, but attitude, man. It's just you just gotta have that attitude. You gotta stay humble, you gotta stay hungry in the aspect of you wanna keep winning and pushing yourself. You don't want to ever become too big to the point where you feel like you are bigger than the badge, which is what it made it seem.
Yeah.
We don't know what the full story is, what happened at City or Bayern, but something happened to a point where Pep didn't want him anymore, and Bayern didn't want to buy him. They didn't want to keep him because who knows what. Like, he didn't even end up playing that much. He played some games, but then they ended up benching him in the end, so he didn't even end up playing at all. So, and he ended up, and because of that, he ended up missing out on lifting the Champions League trophy with City because obviously he was with Bayern. So he didn't end up get to do that.
Yeah.
So it's just he just lost in general, and I just hope that he's able to fix his attitude. Like, I'm not trying to throw any shade to the Portuguese or Portuguese players, but it's starting to look like a lot of these Portuguese stars are starting to grow a big head to a point where they think they're bigger than the club or bigger than everybody else. As you can see, like in the national team, like you see them arguing and butt heads like crazy. And I think for that reason, even when Ronaldo goes, they're going to struggle even more because he looks like the leader. And these guys, once he's gone, they're just going to be butting heads nonstop, saying that they're the leader, that they're the biggest player, this, and that. I know this has nothing to do with Portugal, the national team, but I'm just saying that some of these guys are just having too much of a swole head where they're letting things get to them, and it's just not good for them. I'm just saying.
Well, you got Bruno, like the biggest example there for you.
Exactly.
Bruno himself is the biggest example.
Oh, I know he is.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's the biggest one right there. You know, he had one good season at United, and now he thinks he's the next coming of Ronaldo and Eusebio. So I don't know. Yeah. He thinks he's the next Portuguese icon there, but I guarantee you, at the moment, he's not delivering like it. He's not showing like he's the leader like it. And I'm telling you, once Ronaldo's gone, they're going to be missing him sadly, and Portugal will not be the same identity as they are now. Just because you have great players don't mean that you are a good team. I mean, look at Germany in the last couple of years. Look at Italy in the last couple of years. You can't tell me that they have a team stacked with ballers, but they just can't get it together, you know? Sometimes good teams doesn't mean anything. You see crazy teams make it to these big competitions just based on how they gel, so... We'll see.
Yeah, 100%.
We'll see. I don't think Cancelo will get out of line in that Barcelona dressing room with players with Xavi there, but they did lose like PK, and I feel like PK was that vocal, like that vocalness in the locker room. I don't know who else they have. They also lost, Sergio Busquets and what's his name, and then Jordi Alba. So I don't know who they have to lean on at the moment. Rakitic isn't there anymore, so I feel like a lot of the players are new guys. So I don't know how they're gonna decide that the leadership.
Well, you say that you don't think he'll do it with Xavi there, but I mean he did it with Pep. And Pep's
You're
like
very
one of the
right.
people you just respect. So
that's very true.
Know.
He's someone you don't want to mess with because you mess around. You already know the saying. You mess around, you find out. Just saying.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we'll see. True, he did it with Pep. So why wouldn't he do it with Xavi? I just hope that he gets it together. I'm a fan of the Portuguese national team, obviously because of Ronaldo, and I want to see them succeed and win something before Ronaldo retires, and I just hope these guys get it, get more, more humbled. They settle in a bit and just calm down. But yeah, we'll see how he does in that locker room. But so far, they're balling, and I just feel like they look like a new Barcelona. They're not looking like the team that I thought were not going to do well. Now they're looking like they're pretty much competing for first. So it's going to come down to who drops or slips up first. But yeah, so enough of that. So I know I ranted a bit. I apologize, and I know I went on a bit, but those are my picks. Any thoughts, Brian, before we end off?
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I'm telling you, there's one sleeper, and that sleeper I'm gonna call out now. Gonna be Lazio. Don't be surprised whenever they come out. I know you have them third, I believe, but don't be surprised. I can literally see them going first, though. Letting you know that's gonna be my one shocker that I'm gonna call now.
Yeah, that's fair. For me, I'm going to go with Braga. Because one thing I've learned is I've heard this quote before. It's not mine, but you don't sleep on Portuguese teams in the Champions League or in European competitions. Actually, it's funny because I heard it from one of your fellow countrymen, Brian. I don't know if you know who he is, but I'm sure you know who he is, but I don't know if he watches his videos. Yeah. Jimmy Conrad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is his saying, and I agree with it. You see what Porto, Benfica does in Sporting before too. I know they're not here this season, but you just never know. Don't sleep on these Portuguese clubs in these competitions. That's all I'm gonna say. Don't be surprised that they surprise you.
as we're gonna give one to perform, I think we should also end off with
Let's get
one team that we think will underperform.
that will
I'm not gonna
throw.
lie. Yes, I'm not gonna lie. I'm telling you. I can see it being two teams. So one for the memes, I'm gonna say PSP, but realistically, I'll say Newcastle. I think they're not. I think they'll underperform.
Okay, that's fair. I'm okay with that prediction. Your reasoning made it seem like some sense there. It's not just you being
Yeah,
hateful towards Newcastle because you have no beef with Newcastle, and I agree with your
no, I
reasoning
don't.
there. I like it. I like it. Um, for underperformance for like a team that could throw, it's tough. I'm kind of split between a couple. So I already have United at third, so that's already spoken in for. Um,
You can
I'm
name two.
okay. I want to say one is Atleti
Mm,
because, like I said, that 3-0 loss against Valencia is very concerning.
yeah,
And I
no,
already told
I
you before the
respect them.
before the season started, they were looking shaky without João Felix, and then they proved me wrong, and they smashed Rayo Vallecano, but then they went and they lost to Valencia. So it's not looking consistent. You want consistency if you want to make it out, and they bombed out last season in a group they should have went through. So I feel like they're one. And then for two, I'm gonna go with PSG. I know you said it for the memes that you don't think it's realistic, but
Yeah,
if Mbappe keeps having to bail these guys out, they're not gonna make it far. Because if the other players don't step up, then this is gonna happen. I don't think Gonzalo Ramos has done much. Maybe he has a goal. I think he
nah.
scored a goal. I think he's had some preseason game goals, but I don't think he
Yeah, and
scored
I've
yet.
been kind of quiet. He's been very quiet.
And then Randall Colomwani, I mean, he's been there, here, there, but he still has to get used to this new squad. And then the big one is Dembele is throwing
Yeah,
massively. If
yeah,
anybody
he
saw
had
that
to
last
score
game,
and assist.
exactly. If anybody saw that last game, he had a one-on-one with the goalie, and he shanked it so wide, it probably ended up in the freaking fan stand. It was so wide, it was crazy. You got to see that clip alone, but I
No,
feel like they
I've
could do
seen
it.
it.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it.
Yeah.
I saw it
Woo.
and I like rewatched them. Just like, how is that even
I don't
possible?
even know. It's like if he just shot it from the outside of his foot. Like, I don't know what he was thinking, but it's not. It's looking like at the moment. I mean, he was performing well for Barcelona, but at the moment, it's looking like Barcelona
Yeah,
fleeced them. Because he's not looking too hot
yeah.
at the moment. And
Now I'm sure it'll
yeah,
turn around, but I don't know how quick it'll turn
yeah.
around. Is the thing.
Exactly. And then also another thing is, remember, they're starting Asensio as the striker when they have these other big strikers. So that's another worrying thing. I just don't think Asensio he's good in that role. I feel like his best role is as a winger. I know you have Dembele and Mbappe, and that's why you have him at center forward. But you got to find a new
Yeah,
formation to adapt them all. Maybe like a cam and striker formation somewhere like where you can fit these guys in. Maybe like
but see,
a 4-2-3-1 or
I
something.
I feel like why they have what's his face, bro. Just said his name and I already
Asensio.
forgot. Yeah,
Asensio.
there you go. I don't know. I was thinking of freaking Lucas. What's his face? Or you guys just
Lucas Hernandez.
no Vasquez. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. I had him in my head.
Lucas Vasquez.
I know.
No,
Like,
they
like
can.
literally.
If they want Lucas Vasquez, they can have Lucas Vasquez. I'm okay with that.
No, literally that thing just jumped in my head, and I was just like, dude. I was like, that's not what I'm thinking about.
I don't know.
What's it
Yeah.
called? Yeah, I think they have him at that role because he meshes well with Luis Enrique's system. Like with Luis Enrique being a Spanish manager, I feel like he's kind of the one that grasps what he's gonna do best.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's why they're giving him such a big role, just because like I know Dembele was over there too, with Barcelona
Yeah. He did coach
obviously for a
him
little bit.
in Barcelona, I believe.
Yeah, but I don't. I feel like Asensio is just one more that grasps what he wants to do best. So like, I feel like he's just taking the bigger role. But I mean, never know. Yeah, that's. I personally would not want him being my striker and like leading my team. But I mean, if it's working and if it's for that reason, then I respect it.
Yeah, but remember, his big-headedness is the reason why Spain got knocked out early, because he was biased and he called up a bunch of Barcelona players, some that were trash, some that were good. All I gotta say is there is no reason for them to call up Eric Garcia over players like Nacho and Sergio Ramos, and there's so many players they could have called up, but it made it obvious that his Barcelona bias got in the way, and that's what cost them the tournament. That's all I gotta say. So that's that. I just feel like his big headedness will get in the way, and it might cause him some results. Like I said, Asensio's a good player. I just don't think he's capable of playing that false 9/striker role. I just feel like they're better off finding a formation to fit them all in with a striker up top. I feel like Gonzalo Ramos or Kolo Muani up top would be much solid, more better. You know, and I just think about it. A front three of Mbappe, Kolo Muani, and Dembele. These guys play in France together, so I feel like it's a good link up, you know? I feel like you can't go wrong with that. It just seems like a good thing. I feel like that's what their lineup is too. I feel like that was their lineup this past international break too, because I know Giroud was out, so Kolo Muani was the leading striker, and then Nkunku was out too. So that's what they were running then. So why not run it now? You know, and just drop Asensio down to a cam. I feel like he would thrive there much better. He's more of a facilitator. You know, like I know he had a lot of goals that he scored with Madrid outside the box where he cut in from the right, take a shot with his left foot. Yeah. But I just don't feel like he's doing that justice playing as a center forward. I feel like they should really swap a formation to fit them all in, like a 4-2-3-1, like I said. So you have obviously Kolo Muani on the top left. You know, I already had said it. And then the two midfielders down below that they can have them is like a Vitinha and I forget who else they have, like Vitinha, Ugarte, or I forget who else they have. It's so sad. PSG is so out there that I know like more about PSG squad and depth versus like other random clubs. I'm tired of PSG, man. I'm tired of PSG. Somebody knocked them off.
You can get a lot of Man City now.
I'm okay. I'm alright. I'm alright with either though. But yeah, so that's our shouts at the moment. We went a little long, like I said. I know I'm keeping Brian a little bit. Brian has an early morning tomorrow, so if you made it to this point, just know that Brian appreciates you for getting through this at the point, because Brian's a very busy man, and it's tough to make these come into fruition, which is why sometimes we don't get them out in time or beforehand. They might be a little late, but just know that if you made it this far, that Brian appreciates you very much.
Very appreciative. Very appreciative. Yes, and please just continue to be patient, guys. I was like, I know my schedule and stuff, but I was like, I'm trying to get like as quickly of these uploaded as possible. I was like, hopefully I get the next one uploaded very, very quickly. I'm hoping for a quick turnaround. So
exactly,
just be patient, please.
Exactly. Our schedules are crazy. They change from time to time. You know, one week Brian's more available, and then I'm not available. And then the next week I'm more available, and Brian's not as available. You know, it's just the way it is. But at the moment, we appreciate anybody that listens to these, that watches these. Be sure to remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which we have there, which is the Footy Casuals. We put in the description of every single episode. That's where you can see these tables live. So in case you want something to look at, you can see them. If you just want to see the tables and you don't want to hear the whole thing, that's what you can do. I think this one was pretty long, so probably the whole thing will be on there anyways. But even then, probably two-parter, like me, and then you, and then all that stuff. But yeah, so thank you guys very much for watching. Really appreciate it. Be sure to support us as much as you guys can possibly. Be sure to give us a rating of 5 stars if you enjoyed it on any platform that gives ratings in the form of stars. If there's comment section available, be sure to leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Who is more wrong, me or Brian? What do you think of our decisions and why we put where and who where and all that stuff and all that? But yeah, so before we end it off, any closing moments you want to say, Brian?
Yes, I'm very excited to see where our like standings go. I'm hopefully I'm right, so I'm not wrong, and I don't get cooked in the comments. But I mean,
we both might be wrong. You know, you never know.
Any feedback from you guys is great. So remember, if you have any feedback, definitely leave it, even if it's just like slander, as long as it's not disrespectful. Like, let's try to keep it respectful. But
yes,
exactly. if you want to tell us something, definitely let us know. We'll obviously take it into account.
We're all for the banter.
Yes, and we are not no professional like guessers. Like, we're not gonna know every single thing. So just be mindful of that. Like, there obviously is gonna be some errors. We are gonna get some guesses wrong, but definitely excited to know what you guys are picking. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you never know, Brian. Even people that are experts in statistic and analysts and geniuses, they get this stuff wrong. That's what I love about sports, you know, sports in general. You just never know. In all sports, there's underperformers, underdogs, slept on
Yeah.
players and teams. You just never know. They come out of the woodwork. You never know where or when they'll come out of, what sport, what team, what country, what region, what state. You just never know. That's what makes it exciting.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly. So yeah. So what Brian said, all that good stuff. Leave us any feedback at all whatsoever. We're all for the banter here. We both are always up for some good football banter. Definitely. But yeah. So we will end it there. We will be back soon with the Europa League and the Conference League connected. So we'll be dropping those together. Most likely it might be like the day or the day after where the first games are played. Just be patient, but we'll get it up. And yeah. But yeah, thank you guys very much for listening or watching, and we hope to see you guys in the next one.
Catch you guys in the next one.